Memory game is a pretty interesting game and has been around for a while. A set of cards containing images are turned to the back. When clicked on the image, it flips over and reveals the image. If two images clicked subsequently are exactly the same, then it is a win. Here we will walk through how to build a memory game using plain HTML, CSS and JavaScript. If you have not subscribed to our channel, please subscribe to our channel. The folder structure is as displayed. Within CSS folder, we will have style.css to write our styling code. And within image folder, I have 9 images, 8 for the back side of the card and 1 common image for the front side of the card. Within JS folder, I have memorygame.js, which is used to write our script, and index.html is our HTML file, which is going to be very simple. First we will give title as memory game, and let us include style.css from CSS folder using href as the link. And next is we will have the div id as game and include the memorygame.js so that we will link them dynamically with game as the id. Coming to the style.css, which will define the styling and the look of our game environment. Body shall take the background color and grid is the portion which will contain all our cards. And the card is aligned within the grid, so it shall have both front and back sides, and each card is limited with height of 150 by 150 pixel. Front and back side shall be positioned absolute relative to the card, which in turn positioned in the grid. Front of the image is always the same image. I am going to take the image from our folder image question.png, and it shall not be repeated, and it is set to the center both horizontally and vertically. Coming to the back of the card, it shall have the transform along y-axis by 180 degrees. So when we select or click it, it shall flip the card. On selected, the transform is along the y-axis by 180 degrees. When a match between two cards is found, we shall remove the card and go to the background color. Now when we see it in the web page, we are having just a blank page with the background color we have set in our CSS file. To have the cards displayed, we should have the JavaScript program which shall use the images and then link with the styling that we have given for our grid card front and back when selected and match. So coming to the JavaScript in memorygame.js file, let me have the cards array which shall have 2 elements, name and then the image. The name is the indication that we give for each image, and image takes the path of our actual file that is stored. Here I have a folder image and I am taking image1.png and assigning to image. Similarly, to this cards array, I am going to bring all the 8 images that already I have in my folder image. So from image 1 to 8 are now included in our cards array, and they have 2 elements, name and image. The next step is when we have to play the memory card, each image should be present twice. Then only when we click them, if they match it, it's a win. So let us have game grid, which shall be an array concatenated with cards array. and the array is sorted using math random function. So game grid will have 2 times the size of card array. That is, here the game grid will have 16 images. Every time it will be randomly arranged because we are using math random, return 0.5 minus math random. So we will be having the shuffled cards in game grid. Now let us go and then have get element ID for the game. A game is the div ID we have defined in our HTML file. Then let me have the variable grid and create that as the section. Also set the grid as the class. I'm going to declare grid here as a class so that we can link them dynamically. The grid section we have created shall be appended to the game ID, as game is the ID we have defined in HTML file. So the grid class is appended as a child to the div game ID. Once this is done, we can proceed to see how this is getting associated with the card, and which also has two ends, front and the back. For that, we will call game grid. As we remember, game grid is an array of images that has each image twice the copy. So for each item in the game grid, we will define the div class for the card and add the name from game grid to the card. As each game grid has name and image, I have taken them under two different variables. Now let us create the div element for card and add it to the class list card so that it shall take the properties or the stylings set for the card. And the other one is card data set shall take the card data set shall take the name of the game ID for each item. So here we are creating div for card and add that to the card styling. Also add the name in the game grid to the card data set. Similarly, we are going to create div ID for front and have that front class ID add with the front style properties. As front image is fixed, we are not associating any separate data set. But for the back, we will create div ID and then associate with the class list back from CSS. Also, back shall associate with the background image from the URL we have defined. So it is URL appended to the image as defined in the game grid, which is nothing but an array of images having name and image path. Again, walking through it, first we have the game and grid is present inside the game, and we have defined the card front and back divs. Now let us append card as child to the grid, and each card shall have front and back as its child. So hence our framework is ready. Let us view it in the web page. On refreshing it, it is loaded, and now we could see there are 16 cards placed in the grid. The 16 is nothing but our twice each image from the game grid. But when I click it, I am not seeing anything. So now coming back to JavaScript, we will see how to add the click event by using event listener. Before that, I am having few variables: first card, second card, count, and previous target initialized. As we know, at a time 2 cards can be selected. So first and second card. The count is to track until 1 and 2. Previous target will hold the image details last clicked on. By using add event listener for click, if the count is less than 2, as we remember count is initialized to 0, if the count is less than 2, let us increment the count. But if the count is 1, that is, this is the first click on the image, we shall take the name from the data set of the clicked image to the first card, and similarly add it to the selected. Selected is again coming from the CSS styling. If the count is not 1, could be 2, then do the same thing to second card. That is, take the name of the second card to the second card and add it to selected. And also take the clicked target to previous target. Now again on refreshing the web page, now when I click it, there is a flipping of the image and I could see it. But after 2 selection, when I click other things, there is no reactions, and even the previously selected 2 images are not turned back. So now we will go and implement when the 2 images are not matching, it should be turned back. If they match, we should reset it. Reset means remove the image. So if both first card and second card are valid, that means we have reached the count of 2. Then we have to check if first card and second card are identical. Let us call match. For the match, we have defined the background color along with front. So the front image has to be removed. It shall be just the body color. If the first and second card are not matched, then we have to reset our guess. And I am giving a delay of 1000 milliseconds. Now let us go and define our match and reset functions. For match, which will be called when the first card is same as the second card, let me have a variable selected which shall query all selectors from the selected div. As we remember, selected holds the name of first and second card. So for each selected, let me add them to the match. We have arrived to match because both the cards currently selected are same. So we will move those selected matching cards to the match array. And now this is called when 2 images are matched. Similarly, when the two images are not the same, we will call reset guess. Reset guess is also similar one with the function reset guess, but we will initialize our variables like first card, second card, which holds the name of the card from the array, and also reset the count back to 0 and initialize the previous target to null. Then it is necessary to remove the selected images, the last two images from the selected database. So we will call remove class list. Now, on doing these two things would necessarily satisfy the match and reset function. There is one thing that is important here is when we select outside the card, or when we select the already selected card, or when we select the location which was matched and removed, we must ignore that click. So as a defensive programming, in the add event listener, we are going to check the 4 conditions. If the selected one is part of already selected, or matched one, or outside the grid or within the grid which matches to the previous target, then we will ignore that click. Now coming and to the web page at this level, when I click, I got the first card. Again, I'm clicking it. Now, 2 cards are of different images, so they are resetted. Now, my count is back to 0. When I click other images, it is not working. I think there is issue. Coming back to JavaScript, okay, in reset guess, I have to initialize the global declared variables rather than declaring the variables again locally. So I have taken the scope of the global variables. Now again reloading the web page. First click, first card. Second click, second card, they are not matching, so reset is called. Now my third click is working, third and fourth, again they have flipped back along y-axis. I continue this one until matching 2 cards are found. They are removed from the selected list and moved to the match list. When I click outside or already matched one, there was no reaction. Now I can continue doing this activity until all images are matched back. Subsequent to this one, I will walk through the code completely from top to bottom in a linear way. Hope you liked the video. Please give a thumbs up and share with your friends. Now, as mentioned, I will walk through first the HTML file, which includes the style.css, and in the body section, I have the ID div and named as game, which shall be associated to the script in the file memorygame.js. Now coming to CSS, style.css file, a body background is set to 20C0E0 and the grid is the game grid, which shall hold the card with the characteristics of with 650 margin, 0 auto display flex, justify content space evenly. Each card will be placed within the grid and they take the position relative with margin 5 pixel. Each card shall have front as well as back side. So altogether their height and width will be 150 pixel. The front and back side of the card shall be positioned absolutely and their back face is hidden. The front side of the card shall be an image that I have in my folder called question.png. The back side on clicked it shall be a flexible image which will be taken care in JavaScript. On selected, it shall transform again along y-axis. If it is matched, the front image shall be removed and the background color is set same as the body color of the web page. We have the cards array which shall have two elements, name of the image and the location of the image. Game grid shall concatenate the cards array to itself so that each image is present twice and they are shuffled randomly each time when the game is started. Now get element ID by game, which is the div ID of provided in the HTML file, and have create an element section to the variable grid, and grid shall set as an attribute of class. So a dynamic class grid is created. This grid shall be associated as a child to the game. Now going forward, for each of the element in game grid, we will create a card which shall add to the class list card and take the name from the game grid array. Similarly, front class is added to the front of CSS and back class is also added to back class and also it takes the image. We have four variables, global parameters, first card, second card, count and the previous target. They are initialized. When two images are same, this match function is called, which shall query select all selected class. For each of the selected class, we will add it to the match class. On reset this, reset the global variables and remove the selected image from the selected class. Add event listener is the important one which handles the user interface. On click, do the defensive coding, that is if it is outside the grid or not valid, click ignore it. Count shall be updated only up to 2. If the count is 1, take the name of the clicked dataset to the first card and add it to the selected class. For the count equal to 2, add the name to the second card and again append the image to the selected class. When first and second card image are same, call the match function over a delay of 1000 milliseconds. If not, call reset. Even if it is match, the reset guess will be called subsequently. So this is the walkthrough of our program. Please subscribe to our channel.